Happy Saturday, everybody, and welcome to the Tech Only live stream. And we have a special guest today. No, it's not Elevator. It is Jetta Red. Good morning, Jetta. How are you?
Good morning, George. I'm not sure how special I am, but thanks.
I know your wife says you're special. I have not heard her say that, but you say some amazing things about her, and so I'm sure she cares a lot about you.
Well, I mean, she should certainly recover on her investment because she's made quite a huge investment over the years.
Exactly. Um, so today I don't really have I don't have too many topics I want to cover. I want to come clean on something, um, and we'll do that right after this. But I would love to have someone come on the air if they'd like. And so we'll go um, to the site to see if there are any questions, and then we'll come back to you guys. We have a small audience today, which is fine. And we'll kind of go from there. But as I was running in here, because I was supposed to meet Jetta on this platform a little bit early, I was rushing to get my coffee, and I have a habit of, and I got this text message from my husband who was like, "Oh my gosh, we need to clean the stove," but I keep leaving the burner on when I make tea, and so there we have it. I'm coming clean. He sent this. He's like, "Could you please just turn off the stove? You're an adult, and maybe, as I was kidding with Jetta, getting a little old and forgetting some things." But the first thing that I want to go over this morning is that it looks like, if you have your XLM on the correct platform, with the correct number of Aqua, then you should be getting airdrop number 2. And there was a Twitter posting, I think it was back in November, saying how many per Aqua. And right now they have it right on the aqua.network page under airdrop 2. And it looks like projected Aqua per XLM is about 7.31. Let me see, because I took a screenshot. Actually, I had someone sent this to me. You guys give me a lot of great info, so I very much appreciate that. And let's see, as of Wednesday at 11:37 p.m., which I'm way in bed by that time, the projected was 7.2 Aqua per XLM. So that's interesting. There's more projected, so maybe someone took some off and sold. Who knows, with this market that's kind of going a little crazy. So if you haven't staked, well, if you have not added Aqua to your XLM wallet, which you can do on the Ledger, there is a video on the .io site. I think it's also, I released it to the YouTube channel. Go ahead and feel free to do that. It doesn't take that long, and it's worth some free coins. So that's kind of all I wanted to talk about today. I know someone in the Thursday live stream talked about, could you talk a little bit more about password managers, and we can kind of do that along the way, but let's see what we have, if there are any questions.
Hey, George, while you're doing that, just as a reminder, because we went through this with, I think, the Boba airdrop, if you notice the timestamp for that Aqua airdrop, it's 0 hours UTC, which is a universal standard time, daylight when you change days over. That's equivalent to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and for those in the United States, and you can figure out from there what the time is locally for you. So, having said that, if you're going to participate, make sure you have your Aqua and 500 XLM in a wallet by that time.
Yeah, and don't try to do it last minute. I know so many people who have tried to pay for membership and that kind of thing, and then something comes up and you forget about it and you're like, oh, I wish I would have done that. In fact, well, no, I won't even, yeah, we'll just kind of go from there. Okay. Okay, a while back I transferred Qtum from the core wallet to Ledger, no problem. I have tried to transfer it to Caleb Brown. Firmware, Ledger, Live, etc. all updated. The wallet is correct to Caleb Brown. All other coins go in and out of the Ledger. Okay, I keep getting the message. Your transaction may have failed. Please wait a moment and then check the transaction history before trying again. Not surprised with Qtum. This is to no avail. Perhaps I should try to transfer it back to. I think I understand your issue, and I can't show you right now because it would show everything that I have in my ledger. But there is. Let me bring this up just so I have it. There's a way to reset wallets or refresh wallets, and Qtum is an interesting beast that I will never get back into because I don't like how the core wallet functions. I don't like a couple other things about the blockchain itself. And let me go in to, I'm just going to stall for time. Let me get into Qtum and make sure that that functionality is there. Qtum doesn't necessarily update very easily. And let's see, is this going to out me? No, I might be able to show this. Okay, advanced, hold on. If I can figure out where it is, advanced. Yeah, I think you have to do it to all of them. But there is an area, if you click on the gear, and I believe it's under help, and there's a couple settings. Yeah, let me, okay, let me show you. I'll go into it. It's not that bad. Okay, if you go to your Ledger Live and you click on the little gear in the upper right hand corner and you go to the help tab, you'll see a bunch of things that you can do. One of them that you can do is clear cache. And if you hit clear cache, sometimes that forces some of the wallets to kind of just get nudged, get kicked, and resync and have those issues go away. The problem with the core wallet, which may reflect in the Ledger wallet, is that if you have an older version of the wallet, sometimes it doesn't sync. And you can actually think you've sent coins from your Qtum wallet, and you're like, oh, look, it went through, or it's going to go through. And you close it and you come back 3 months later. This happened to me. And it was never sent, and it never really gave you an error to upgrade your wallet. But when you upgraded the wallet, then it resynced. And then you could send it out, but it sent it out automatically after you upgraded the wallet and you synced the wallet, and then it went out on its own. That could be an issue with Ledger. It's interesting how Ledger, how Exodus, how some of the wallets out there actually have the entire blockchain on the back end. I know for a fact that Exodus, if you put Monero in it, takes the whole Monero blockchain and copies it to your hard drive, so that if you needed to resync your Monero on your Exodus wallet, you had to kind of throw something away, you had to dig down, throw something away, and it would resync the wallet. But there was like just a ton of data on some Exodus wallets, and some Exodus wallets it wasn't that way. So try to clear your cache, make sure everything's updated, and see if that helps. That's probably a little bit more than what you wanted, but let's see. There we go. Okay. Okay, hello. I did try, I should have read this. I did try to send it from the ledger to Qtum, no go. Maybe I should delete the ledger and all. No, just try to clear that cache and see if it helps. Okay, and Hirsch says, can we stake our XLM? If so, is it worth doing? I have not staked my XLM. There are different ways of doing things, different places, different mechanisms. It really depends on what you mean by worth it. The only examples that I can give are something like DOS. DOS, back in the day, I staked, and I spent way too much money on staking DOS because it was an ERC20, and the fees on them were way too high. And it was, I mean, I think I spent about $200 staking and unstaking, and I think I earned $600, but it was worth it for me because the time period and how much I took out of it. If you have a small amount and the fees, it may not be worth the time, the trouble, and there. Jetta, have you ever staked XLM? I mean, I have
No,
a few coins staked, but this one I don't.
no, I have not. But this topic brings up a question I have, George. Maybe you might be able to explain. And by the way, when somebody asks, is it worth it? I mean, Jay, back, when things back in early spring last year, was kind of like anti-staking for many coins because basically you might be earning 7, 8%, 10% on a stake. And I think he felt, and I kind of the approach I take too, is that really worth, is that return really worth the risk of getting your coins locked up, or if you're dependent on a particular wallet like O3 for Flamingo staking, and O3 goes wanky on you. Now on Flamingo with the returns right now, what they are, yes, it's worth. In my opinion, it's worth the risk, and I'm staking Flamingo. But other coins, if they're paying 5, 7, 8% or something like that, I probably would not stake. That's just my personal opinion. Because like I said, with Flamingo, you have to either connect to Neoline, which is an extension, browser extension, or O3. And currently on the N3 network, in order to stake and use one of those wallets, neither one of those wallets will connect to a ledger currently. So basically, you have to create a soft wallet. I think we've covered this probably a couple times, but and the risk of a soft wallet is it's not as secure as a hardware wallet. So if you're very careful and you're confident in what you're doing, it's probably worth staking, because I think depending on the pool you put it in, the Neo FLM pool is paying out 61%, and the FLM gas is paying out 80%. So, and that might be worth it. But 5, 6, 7% on a stake, unless it's super easy, it's not worth it. But here's a question I had. Some staking I've looked at doing, and I'll use staking as a generic term. If you put it in a pool that's managed by a third party, there's something called a fee associated with the staking. And I've never been, I haven't really looked into it, but to me, does that, in your knowledge, George, does that mean that's, if you want to stake 100 of something and their fee is 10%, does that mean you have to recover or gain at least 10% of your coins to break even? Or exactly what does that mean?
And that's a really good question, because it depends on the blockchain. The one that I did kind of the deeper dive in this originally was ADA, and then I talked to D about Theta, and G pool stuff. And so what that 10%, and there was one other, oh, IOST, no, it was Qtum. Qtum looking at it, and what was the group that I staked on? But basically, if they say that, well, there's multiple fees. So when you get in to stake something, you're paying a fee for a network fee or a contract fee or whatever fee straight right, out the door. And then that 10% fee is on what you earn in that. So if you stake 100 and you get 10 out of it, whatever time frame they take, and it also devils in the details, they will take one of that coin. So if you have 100, you're earning 10, and it's a 10% fee. They will take one of those coins before they give them to you. So it's out of the earnings and not out of the total pool. But that's true for most, but not everyone, because a lot of people don't read through the details and some of the smaller pools. But part of that mechanism is built into the protocol itself. Like T-Fuel didn't have that protocol available. Now T-Fuel has that protocol available, so that more people will stake, and that I know G-Pool is taking, I think, a 3 or 4% fee of your T-Fuel if you stake it on their platform, and that's how they cover their costs. But with the price of T-Fuel right now, and the last time I talked to D, and I think it was last time I talked to him about this, and it was 30 cents. He's like, yeah, we're really not making anything, because they wanted to make a return so that they could invest in some hardware, and make it a better platform. But no one's really making that much right now. So yeah, it depends on the staking mechanism and what the rules are. But typically, it's that 10% fee is out of the fees that, or sorry, the earnings that you earn, and not your total pot.
Gotcha.
Does that make
Okay,
sense?
well, it does. It does. So basically, you're paying them to host the staking
Yeah.
because of the investment that they've made in the equipment and network and all the expenses that the pool might have. They're taking that out to cover those expenses, and like you said, maybe make a little on top of that to reinvest.
Yeah, well, and this is something kind of interesting that goes in line with this, but kind of doesn't, and it's a little geekish. But I had the bright idea on Monday to upgrade my router. I don't have like your average consumer router. I have a little bit higher end router because I have fiber coming into the house. And so I thought, oh, well, I'm just going to upgrade it. I haven't done it since September, and I need to keep things up to date. So I tried it, and it failed. I'm like, oh. My husband was not happy, but our son was in school, so I thought this would be a cool time. Got the MiFi out because I now always have a backup just in case something happens. And so it took me about 2 hours going back and forth with tech support from start to finish. And that's not the interesting part. The interesting part was about an hour and a half that the MiFi was up, and how things are structured in this house. I had a gig, 1.2 gigs of data that was going across this wireless MiFi, which was a lot more data than I would have thought coming out of my house. The only thing I really downloaded was a 400 meg file. I know that's quite a bit, but I kind of took that out to get the update. So when you look at that, and I had some Mac Minis that are running the Edge node, that when you're running platforms like this, it eats up a lot of bandwidth. So if you have a metered bandwidth, which I had back in the day when I worked for a particular company, and the power that those are always consuming, and they are fees that can really kind of get expensive. So the ability to recoup those costs by being able to charge a fee on staking those coins is really important, because the other part of it is, I know just for a fact, when you're running some of these pools, you can do it through, like Amazon, you can do it through Linode, you can do it through, a bunch of online, but there are fixed costs and limits that you run into. So it's a good thing that companies or individuals are able to take a fee out of that so that they can continue going forward with those staking options for all of us. Okay, let's see, we have a couple questions. If you guys want to throw some in there, if anybody wants to come online and chit chat with us and ask some questions that way too, that would be great. And this is from, our friend Perdito that joined us live on when Bud and I were talking about Pulse X. When there is a request for MetaMask wallet address for Binance Smart Chain, is that same as the Ethernet or your ETH address? I'm using an NOS, and the only addresses that I can find for Binance Smart Chain is the ETH wallet address. Yes. So think about it this way. Let me see. I don't think you guys can see if I have a pop-up. Let me see if MetaMask will show up.
Yeah, George, while you're doing that, the Binance Smart Chain was a fork of the Ethereum network, correct?
Yeah, and there's so many that are kind of based on that, because the idea, no, you know what, my MetaMask won't pop up. Oh wait, here it goes. Okay, so if you can kind of see that, I think this, no, you guys can't see this. But basically, the idea around MetaMask and some of the networks, like when I bring down my MetaMask and I try to select a network, I have a lot of networks in there right now. My networks include the Ethereum mainnet, Phantom, Avalanche, Boba, Polygon, Heck, KCC, and Pulse Chain, and Binance Smart Chain. And the idea is that you can use a hardware wallet that will give you private keys and a public key. And that public key can be used on multiple blockchains. And that is, I know I talked about this a while ago, but when you use the Ethereum app and it's Ethereum kind of based, they may put their own changes on the back end. It is the same address, but it's on the other network. And it's important to know this, because what can happen is that if you send it in down the wrong chain, people will have to jump through hoops to potentially get those coins. Meaning, if my address ends in 1919 and I look at all the different addresses on the different chains, it's the same address, but it's a different chain. And there was some confusion way back in the day with Theta, where my Theta wallet address is the same potentially as my Ethereum address, because they are all keyed off the same 24 words that my ledger has on it. And so that's convenient, and sometimes it's confusing. But yes, it's the same address, but on different chains. And where it gets a little bit confusing is when you don't use a hardware wallet and you create your own, and then you try to go to another chain. You have to make sure that you have the correct 24 words. It's not as straightforward. It can be, but it's not as straightforward when you're going to a new computer, when you're going to a new MetaMask version on a different browser. With the hardware wallet, it throws that public key out at you, and it easily shows you that key. But yes, your Binance Smart Chain is the same address, but it's not your Ethereum address. It's just an address. So think of it as an address that will work on Binance, Pulse Chain, KCC, Heck, Polygon, Boba, Avalanche, Phantom, and Ethereum. They're all different chains, but they may have a wallet address that is similar. It's the same look of the address, but it will function separately. The thing that I talked about a while ago was you also have to be careful, because if you don't want to expose yourself to what kind of coins you have, Ethereum is a horrible blockchain for privacy. Meaning, if I say to Jetta, hey Jetta, I'm going to send you an ERC20. I'm going to give you some SHIB. And he says, great, thanks. And I send him some SHIB. Well, he gives me his Ethereum address. And with that, I can look to see how much Ethereum he has, what ERC20s he has. I can go on the Phantom network with that address and see what Phantom he has. I can go on the Avalanche network and see what kind of Avalanche coins and tokens. And so that one address can go across multiple chains. Maybe that, if I can come up with a good address that isn't anywhere, maybe I'll show that later. But when you go to Etherscan, you'll see a little pop-up that shows other chains that have a coin in them, and so you can pop over to that. When we get, I will bring that up because I think it's really interesting, and they did that. Let me find something that's not going to throw me out there, and I'll bring that up if Jetta, if you answer something, then I'll dig through and get something that might have something on another blockchain, because it is kind of cool, because you can go to Etherscan and you can see a lot of different wallet addresses that would hold things. Yeah, I can't easily get that, but yes, that's a long answer to a short question. But yeah, it's the same. I hate to say it's the same address, because it's the address that has the same characters, but it's not the same address because it's a different blockchain.
So George, I think in the past we kind of discussed this. What some of these new coins, as a project is starting, it'll often start on Ethereum, and then as it matures and development continues, it moves to its own blockchain, and using, I guess, at that point, it can determine its own network fees and other criteria. And however, the underlying security and wallet processing that was used on Ethereum is used on the other network. That's why you see the private key, which determines the public address, is transportable on a hardware wallet from network to network and device to device, but not necessarily soft wallets, because on a soft wallet, the private key stays on that on that particular PC or in that particular wallet, and it's not as easily transported. You have to then copy and paste your private key, which is always scary, or enter your 12 or 24 words, or on a website, which is also scary. So the hardware wallet, it makes that all very transportable and secure. But what it's doing, it's just like Theta is a perfect example. When you use a Theta wallet and you hook up your Trezor or Ledger to it, it'll show you all of the addresses associated with the private keys and the Ethereum app on that Ledger device. And that's all it's doing. It's the wallets don't really care as long as they've built that handshake in place, that interface to the Ledger. It's looking for and it's reading the private key and the public addresses. So that's why, you're right. It's very confusing to folks. And back a while ago, it was interesting because the Theta Theta team actually published something on the website. And I don't know if it was Theta or the Ledger team, but I think it was the Theta team that published saying, don't send your Theta tokens to an Ethereum wallet, don't, kind of thing. And I wrote to them, I said, you know, but that's not true. You can do it. And they said, we know, but we found too many people use something like MetaMask, and there's no way to then get it off MetaMask onto the Theta network, or it gets very complicated. I mean,
Yeah.
you can do that. You can do that. You can always use the 12 words out of your MetaMask and restore a hardware wallet with those 12 words and then go about that. But that's beyond your average user to figure that stuff out.
That's when they come knocking on our door and say, hey, could we hire one of you guys? Because I'm kind of lost in this. Because, you know, honestly, some of the stuff that comes in is sometimes challenging, and it's kind of fun. It is like, as my son would say, because we listen and read Boxcar Children, it's like a mystery. And when you solve that mystery, it feels really good because some of this stuff is not straightforward. Sorry, you can finish up your stuff, Jenna.
No, that was it. I was just saying, you know, I was kind of filling the gap there a little bit while you got set up. But basically, you know, Theta's not the only one. We've seen that with Energy Web Token the same way, and you know, not to mention all the ones you listed out of MetaMask. And the other interesting, so, and there's different tools out there like mycrypto.com will let you look at different networks with that Ethereum device, Ethereum-based address. So to George's point, if you get really stuck on something like this, reach out to us. You know, we kind of do this for a living, so to speak.
I'm still not sure about that.
Oh, I'm sorry there, Siri.
She's listening.
Oh,
Tim Cook is listening.
Is that who the voice is? I must have held the button down on my phone or something. I don't know. But Siri is willing to help out, but that's not necessary. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, and so I'm going to jump in here and show you a little bit more because I think this is a great topic because it is it's difficult. It can be difficult to understand, but once you get the base understanding, then you can do a lot with it. So this is an address that I've pulled out. It's an old address, and that this is the Avalanche network. I'm doing a little bit more on different platforms and exploring some things, and I'm working with kind of Jetta Red, and we're doing some fun things. But what you'll notice is that there is a little B with a 2, and that basically, if you mouse over it, says click to view addresses on 2 other chains. Well, there's actually more than 2 other chains, but we're going to do that because this is snowtrace.io, which is also very similar to Etherscan. If you look at this address in the URL and you look at this address here, it's going to remain the same when I click on this, and it's going to say, hey, you have some things on Etherscan and you have some things on Polygon. And so we're going to look at the Polygon. And I think I have some free tokens like Mega, Doge.org, and ERC20 from Zeppa. Garbage coins, spam, whatever you want to call it. They are worth nothing, but they were dropped in this wallet address because they found it somewhere else. I don't know how they do these things, but and then there's when you're on the Polygon scan, same address, you can click on this and it'll go back and I can go to my Etherscan. Oh, I know why it's doing that. I'm going through VPN that I should have turned off before I started this. I must have been doing something yesterday. So it will go to the different chains, but let me show you one that makes it a little bit easier to look at. And that is if you do the expand when you're in MetaMask, there's an expand option. It will take you to a whole page view. And right now, this is the Polygon network, Manic. And if I click on this, I'm not sure if, oh yeah, you guys see the pop down. So I could go to the Phantom network and same address. It ends in 35F3. I don't really have Phantom. Do I have some Avalanche? Nope. Do I have some Boba? I don't think I used this one for Boba. Yeah, we're back to Polygon. Heck, I don't know. Heck is interesting. And KCC, I don't even remember why I put the KCC address in. Pulse chain testnet, really shouldn't have, oh, the testnet doesn't work. It's weird. You put in, yeah, I was working with someone. The pulse chain testnet does not work correctly right now. Not sure why, but there was no way to get around it, even putting the correct address. And then there's Binance Smart Chain. And I don't have anything in here. And then, of course, if you go to the granddaddy of them all, the Ethereum, and this is where I had some stuff at one time. But that's how you can go back and forth to the different networks. I feel, if cryptos stick around, that this is going to be an important and valuable skill to know and have under your belt, because I've been doing some things on the Avalanche network. I've been doing some things. I'm about to do some things on the Phantom network a little. I've kind of been on there too, and Polygon. And you wouldn't believe the fees and the speed on some of these. And these particular networks, Phantom, Avalanche, Polygon, they're kind of DeFi platforms, and that I think it's going to be important to know some of that in the future. Not really going to cover that on the .io site, because we're all about what, kind of what Jay is talking about, and not getting sidetracked. But there are lots of different networks that you can use for reduced fees. The other thing that I want to cover, and I guess we're just covering about Ethereum networks, there are some issues that people have run into, like, and it's hard to say just one issue, but when you're on an exchange and you look at the fees to send out like USDT or USDC, and you're like, oh, should I send it out on Binance Smart Chain, or should I send it out on the Ethereum network? Well, I don't want to send it out on the Ethereum network because it's going to cost me $32. But if I do it on the Binance Smart Chain, it's going to cost me a lot less. Well, depending on where that is ending up, you may lose all of it. And that has happened because people have said to Caleb Brown, hey, I need a wallet address to send my USDT because I want to liquidate or I want to buy something else. And they give that person a wallet address, which is an Ethereum wallet address. And they look at the fees sending out an Ethereum, and they're like, that's way too much. I don't want to pay for that. I want to pay on the Binance Smart Chain. Well, if you send it out on the Binance Smart Chain, you're going to lose all your coins until maybe 10 years from now, when Caleb Brown's system can retrieve those coins out of the Binance Smart Chain, because how they have their system set up, it's not on a little ledger. I don't know how the structure is. Just knowing how the engineering is on the back end, and how there should be checks and balances and security, that if you send it to that Binance Smart Chain address, Caleb Brown has it, they just can't get to it. And this has happened to a couple people. And Caleb Brown has said, well, maybe we can get it years from now, when the system that's in place, we either add Binance Smart Chain to that part of it, or whatever. But those coins are locked up because Caleb Brown doesn't have keys to have access. And you're like, well, it's just on another selection on your ledger or a network. Yeah, but you've got to remember how they have their back end built is that I hope not everybody has easy access to those coins where they could just go in and send things out. So their system that they're not going to tell you how it's designed, it's most likely designed by third party, um, is pretty structured for security, and they're not going to be able to get those coins out easily. So make sure you're sending it on the correct network. Don't be cheap and try to send it for fewer fees if you're sending on the wrong network, because you will lose them all. Did I beat that dead horse yet? I mean, is this does anybody else have questions on this type of address schema with the different networks out there? I'm going to look through. Okay, and Tanya says, thank you for explaining about the cross-chain addresses. It helps me understand the BNB and BSC same address issue I ran into last week. You are welcome. There was one other thing I was going to cover. Just had on the tip of my tongue. Maybe I'll remember, but it has to do with the different addresses. And that, oh, I know there was someone who tried to have one coin and send it to a different chain. And this is also where it gets really confusing. Like if you want to send Ethereum, an ERC20 Ethereum to an Avalanche or a Phantom network, you can't just send it, you have to use a bridge. And if a bridge is available, that's great. But a bridge on the Ethereum network is really expensive. So if you're going to buy a coin and hold it, and you want to hold it on a different network, make sure you buy it on that network and not try to bridge it, because the bridging fees are just outrageous. And in fact, bridging is relatively new. I'm old world, and I didn't understand bridging when it first came out. I'm like, look, Bitcoin stays on Bitcoin blockchain. Ethereum stays on the Ethereum blockchain. And it took me a while to understand why the heck you'd want to put Ethereum and Bitcoin on other networks. And now I probably get about 75% of the reason. And a lot of it has to do with value, with DeFi, with holding coins, that type of thing. Because now when you look at staking, when you look at other DeFi platforms, the standard there is wrapped Bitcoin and wrapped Ethereum. And then that's another topic, but it's holding that value. And when you think about the structure of what a wrapped Bitcoin is and what a wrapped Ethereum it is, a wrapped token or coin allows you to send it cross-chain or have it on cross-chain. But what you don't want to do is have wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped Ethereum, wrapped tokens on both platforms that are that you can sell them. So if you wrap Bitcoin and you take it to another platform, the original Bitcoin should not be able to be sold or really used on the original Bitcoin blockchain. Otherwise, why not just wrap everything and send it to another network so you have the use of it on two networks? So, there's a lot of thinking behind this. And back in the day, oh my gosh, what were we doing? What project was it? People were trying to wrap, I think it was maybe Flamingo. People were trying to wrap Ethereum using the Polygon network and sending it to the Flamingo network so that they could stake it. And man, people got stuck on some of the bridges, and that's why bridges are getting to be more reliable. But back in the day, I would not do it because I don't like to have my money, my value held on the bleeding edge. I will put, network stuff and some other things that are not of high value and play with it. just because I'm a geek that way, but I don't want my dollar value on a platform that is kind of risky, because there are two examples. Well, one example really, and that is PPT. I know some people that still have PPT locked up on the platform, on the DeFi platform, on the staking platform that Steve put out. And he did a horrible disservice to PPT on putting that out and really having it fail and not having engineers jump on it right away and fix these issues that people, I know one in particular, I spoke with him a couple weeks ago and he said, yeah, I still have it on there. Maybe I'll get it off at some point in time. But when you have coins that are stuck on a platform, I don't ever want to go through that. I would never recommend it to you guys. And there are times when people say, oh, well, let's do this. I'm like, well, yeah, kind of do it on your own and risk it, because I don't want to be responsible for saying, yes, go ahead and do that and not know that it's really reliable. And OMG was a particular example where I tried to bridge it before the snapshot, and it just kept on failing. And it was like, I don't want to risk that. Now going back, they fixed some of those issues. They don't necessarily tell you that they've fixed some issues because it's on a web page. They don't have to necessarily release the version. In fact, it's kind of few and far between on revs that are released on a web page. When you have a wallet address, or when you have a downloadable wallet like the Neon wallet and the O3 wallet, it shows you those versions so that if you need an update, you can see what you have, what the latest is, and download it. So that's my 2 cents. Okay, Leslie says, what is a good use for other chains? That is a very good question. So, Leslie, one of the things that I thought about way back in the day on other chains, it was actually before of a lot of like Polygon, Avalanche were kind of popular and out, that I would use other chains. One that I was looking at was Tron, because you can put USDT, USDC, on the Tron network and have low fees. And so a lot of these networks came out of the fact that Ethereum is just horrendously expensive, and that we shouldn't be paying these fees, and that it's overtaxed, and that wasn't developed correctly in the long run. And they're trying to kind of get things together and patched so that the fees will go down, but it seems like that is just not happening, and that some of those fees are with smart contracts that are written a particular way, so that they're just gathering those fees. But the other networks are around for particular reasons that they see that their goal, like some of these side networks that are clones of Ethereum, they may be used for DeFi projects, and that I don't want to get too deep into this, but that if I was going to stake a coin, my example, with DOS of having hundreds of dollars to stake this coin, it really wasn't worth it. The same with SHIB on their staking platform. It's really expensive to stake stuff on the Ethereum network, and that I don't plan on staking any. I don't want to stake things on the Ethereum network because it's so expensive. I did go ahead and stake some SHIB and Ethereum, but not on the SHIB site, because I felt it was too new, and that that was not their focus. I staked it on another platform that has been around for quite some time, so the reliability and the trust factor was much higher than staking it on ShibSwap. But the fees, again, were just outrageous, and that told me again that I shouldn't do that and that I should stick to other chains. Well, I also did some staking, some sending on the Avalanche network just to see what the different chains are like and to explore and find things that might be helpful, because there's things are rapidly changing, and Jetta might back me up on this one. That when we get to our age and we see what some of these young kids are doing, that when you stumble across something, you're like, oh my gosh, I am so far behind the times. And that, the people that are coming in right now know all about this. I don't want to get to that point where I'm just an old tech guy that is put out to pasture. I want to know the latest and greatest, because I think one of the advantages that we have at our age, and I'm not saying we're really old, but we have a lot of experience. And when you ask someone younger, like, do you know what a 1200 baud modem is? They're like, I don't even know what you mean by that. And nowadays, there was a company called Teleport, and I bought my first, I think it was 5600 baud or whatever. And because we have so much history, the knowledge that we get from that history helps in crypto today. I am not Cisco certified, but I went through a Cisco class for 2 years, a night class, before my son was born, because I wanted to know why a MAC address couldn't be passed to a wide area network. No one may know what that means, but I wanted to know because my engineer said it just couldn't. I'm like, well, tell me why. And he's like, well, I don't know, but it just can't. And so it's gaining that knowledge and having the time to do that. And so crypto is the same way. So understanding these different networks and why you might want to put something on the Phantom network, why you might want to use the Avalanche, why you might want to use Polygon. In fact, someone called me, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to, but a YouTuber out there that we probably all know, said that Manic is just going to, skyrocket and go to the moon, and it was kind of, I guess, backed up by crypto viewing a little bit. Not training advice whatsoever, not at all. But it just shows that some of these networks are so ripe for DeFi and money coming into them, because how they're structured and what their focus is as compared to what the Ethereum blockchain is all about. Okay, and
hey, George,
Tanya also, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, look, before I forget and before I might have to drop off, just a couple things on this general topic. For example, going back to ERC20 and different blockchains, Phantom is a token that has its own network called Opera. So you can transmit Phantom on Opera for very little fee. However, if you go into your Exodus wallet and you say, oh, they support Phantom, I'm going to buy Phantom and I'm going to send it over to my Ledger device on the Phantom network, don't do it, because it will tell you that the Phantom version on Exodus is an ERC20 token. Okay, and so you got to be so you got to be very careful. But if you buy Phantom on Gate.io, I can't remember. They may offer you, and often when you withdraw from Gate.io, they'll give you multiple networks that you can pick, depending on where you're sending it to. So you've always got to be very much aware of what you're doing. And along those lines, we had somebody who had inadvertently confirmed, well, they didn't inadvertently confirm, they confirmed having received a particular coin, but that particular coin was sent to a Bitcoin SegWit address. And as you may or may not know, Bitcoin has 3 generations or versions of addressing: the legacy SegWit and native SegWit. And they're different addresses, but because Bitcoin Cash and eCash and several other forks of Bitcoin use the same addressing scheme, you can send one coin to any one of those addresses because they tend to be interchangeable until you try to retrieve them. And so my point, without getting way too far in the weeds, my point is if you receive coins from Caleb and Brown, they always send a test amount first and ask you to confirm. Please confirm it within the wallet you have control over and not just go out on the blockchain and say, yep, it's there. Because you may very well find that, yeah, you can view it on the blockchain, but that doesn't mean you can access it. And so anytime you're confirming receipt of your coins or tokens, do it from the wallet that you have control over and not from just viewing it on the blockchain. Okay, that's my public service announcement.
Yeah, and you know, and here's the thing, I guess this is going to be the topic for today because we don't have that many questions, and I will go a little bit deeper into this, not to confuse you, but to show you how things are just changing. And by the way, I think, let's see, let me check one thing, because I got some, whoops, I got something ready. Okay. Okay. I think there's going to be a video that's coming out soon, but we will see. I just got notification. So one of the things that you can look at, like I can't remember what coin I was on SimpleSwap, just as an example. Like this is Avalanche, but there was a coin that I was looking at, and I thought it was going to go to one network, and it was saying, oh, it's going to go to an ERC20 network. I'm like, well, no, I want it on the main net. And I wish I could remember, but Avalanche is kind of a perfect example that I'll show you. So if I want to trade, 0.1 Bitcoin for some Avalanche, I'll do an exchange. And it will say the recipient's Avalanche address. Like, okay, well, what is that? Because if you look at something, and I think this is going to be okay, here is Avalanche. And we're going to go in to Avalanche accessing using my ledger. I'm going to go to Ledger. That's one reason I love the Ledger, because it will just get you into so many things and not have to have private keys and other things. That's the other reason that I really like the Ledger as compared to the Trezor, because not all sites support the Trezor, but they do the Ledger. So this is not meant to confuse you, but it's meant to show you what there is out there. This is the Avalanche wallet on the Avalanche network. As you can see, maybe I have to blow this up. Can I blow it up? Nope, I guess I can't. But if you can see right up here in this corner, this is an address. And this address, the reason why I can show this to you is this address changes every time you request a new coin, so you can't kind of go back in. But you can see I've been doing some transactions on Avalanche just to check things out. And I'm going to copy that address and I'm going to put it back into SimpleSwap. And this is a good Avalanche address. Okay, it doesn't complain. It doesn't say, no, it's not an Avalanche address. But if you look on Avalanche, whoops. Oh, there we go. Back to the Avalanche address. Avalanche has multiple addresses for their blockchain. So this is the X address. If you want the P address, it says derived platform wallet address. I have not used the P address, but there's a C address, and the C address gives you a ERC20 based wallet address. And I'm not willing to share that right now, but that one, if you plugged it into the SimpleSwap area, you would not be able to have your coins sent because it's the wrong address that they being SimpleSwap, is looking for. It's still an Avalanche address, but it's not in the format that you need. And the format that you need is the X-AVAX. But the C address gives you the ability to plug that in to MetaMask and use MetaMask to do other things on different platforms like staking Avalanche or trading Avalanche in a format that's easy to and inexpensive to do. I don't know too many wallets that have that type of capability where it is its own mainnet address and then also an ERC20 based wallet address so that you can use MetaMask on different platforms. So this is where it gets really complex, but it is it's necessary for how you can do things. So okay, so that's
George, yeah. No, what I was going to say, that X, P, and C represent, they're referred to as chains within the Avalanche, I guess, main network. And so if you wanted to view that 1.93 AVAX on MetaMask, you have to move it to the C chain. And down from portfolio, you go down to cross, yeah, you couldn't do it there, but you go down to cross chain, and it lets you go from X, and you can pick C as your destination chain. Go down one more. And when you click on that, right? So that then lets you transfer that 1.93 over to the C chain. And once on the C chain, you can view it in MetaMask. And with that, guys, yeah. I'm going to have to drop off, so sorry.
Oh, no problem. Jetta, thank you. We will definitely do this again, maybe in another 2 weeks. It's great to have you aboard and
okay.
and share in this.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jetta. So, as you can see, some of the fees are really, really low. There's an export fee, there's an import fee, a total fee is low when you go from the X chain to the C chain. And so just kind of wanted to throw that out there because it's going to be something I hope in the future that we're going to need to know. So let's go on to a couple questions. Okay, I'm going to go back to that. Okay, can you go a little deeper into legacy, native, etc.? Depends, because it's typically what people mean by legacy, native. Really, you're talking about SegWit and non-SegWit, is that their legacy means old, older, or original, and SegWit and native SegWit in terms of the Bitcoin chain sequence, the Bitcoin chains. Let me back up a little bit. So there was Bitcoin out there. That was my first coin that I held. And out of Bitcoin came a lot of other chains like Litecoin, like I believe Dash, I believe Digibyte. Who else? There are a bunch, Bitcoin Cash, and all the variety that came off of that. But those are all based on Bitcoin as the original coin. And so when the advantages of putting a new blockchain out there from the Bitcoin blockchain is that you can borrow, steal, whatever code that's been written for one of the other chains and use it into yours. And so what they came up with was, okay, well, Bitcoin is really expensive back in the day to send as more and more people were using it. And so they came up with different protocols within that wallet. And so the legacy protocol is the first one that was kind of out there. And if you have a legacy Bitcoin wallet address and you try to send from it, it's going to be expensive. And there's no way to upgrade your legacy wallet to a native or native SegWit wallet address. You just have to send it from one to the other, and you have to bite the bullet. I would not send my legacy coins from any wallet to another wallet just to hold it unless the fees are pretty low. You don't have to move them, but you can if you want. It's just if you have Bitcoin in 2 wallets and you have legacy and you have SegWit or native SegWit, send it out of the legacy just to get it out of there into a more current wallet address schema that is under the blockchain. So, but why I was talking about Digibyte and Litecoin is that you'll notice on Litecoin there's legacy SegWit. I don't know if there's native SegWit. I think there's just 2 out there for that one. The price difference between legacy and SegWit is not that big a difference on Litecoin than it is on Bitcoin. But that's basically what the difference between legacy and native SegWit and SegWit are. Oh, sure, you want to come on? Let me find you. Attendees, a sec. Okay, I'm gonna unmute you. You are unmuted. Pardito.
Okay, George. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, good to hear from you again.
Yeah, I think I was typing some questions as you started off in that direction to clarify the whole legacy SegWit and native SegWit, but I'll make this a short one. So
Sure.
when I started with using the Ledger 4 or 5 years ago, like you said, all those similar coins, Digibyte, Litecoin, they were all legacy. And now you've got, I guess with Litecoin, you just explained you have legacy and probably SegWit. What I'll double check it again, but the latest version, that's my first question because I'm assuming that would be the latest design and the probably less expensive, correct, on all those coins.
Yeah, the difference between SegWit and native SegWit is so small for me. I mean, there is a difference, but for price, there's really not that much of a difference when you send between those two. Technically, on the back end in the ordering system, I can't use, and I don't remember if it's native SegWit or SegWit because they have it written for a particular chain. But when you first had your coins in Ledger, and then all of a sudden you see a wallet that says legacy, and then SegWit and native SegWit, and you're like, wait, I did not put mine in a legacy wallet. I just put it in the wallet. Well, it's the upgrades that happen to the different blockchains, and it's nothing that you've done. It's just the blockchain has been updated, and so that reflects into Ledger Live. And they, when they first upgraded the blockchain, it was hard to know, is this the old wallet or the new wallet? And so that's when they started to add in legacy versus SegWit and native SegWit, because when they first introduced it, I was like, which address schema is this? And am I going to be charged a lot or a little? And they've added those designators. And you can't upgrade the legacy. You have to just send it out of the legacy to a newer wallet.
I see. So basically, when I go to install, let's say I don't think I can uninstall a legacy wallet, but I'll go to Litecoin and download that app, and it'll take the newest version or whatever they designed. Correct?
Yeah, and you probably won't notice that much of a difference in pricing on the Litecoin side of things, but you definitely will notice it on the Bitcoin. And because I don't like fees, because I think everything should be free, but it really can't, because you need to pay for what you use so that people will put hardware in place. But if you have Bitcoin and it's in a legacy wallet address, I wouldn't necessarily recommend sending it just to a SegWit or a native SegWit wallet address, because you're going to be paying fees for just sending it to another wallet address. And you might as well not have to pay fees twice. Just use your old legacy wallet addresses when you're sending out the coins with those in it. And that's how you can kind of empty it. You know, you can, if you want to, on Litecoin or some of the others. I honestly haven't touched my Digibyte wallet in forever. So I don't know if there's a big price difference on legacy versus SegWit on that particular chain.
Gotcha. Okay, George, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right.
Does anybody else want to come online? It's about 10 after 10, and there aren't that many other questions. And I think, man, I think this has been the Ethereum wallet address on other blockchains kind of topic for today. And it is a lot to take in and understand, but I think it's going to be important going further on where things are going. You know, one thing that I will say is that I am starting to change my mind on where I want to put some of my coins and some value. And if cryptos stay, you know, and we can play with them, you know, in the future, looking at some of the platforms that are now mature and are available to us is something that I am experimenting with and seeing if it's worth it. You know, back in the day when some of these companies that were out there where you could stake and you could hold your coins kind of like a bank and earn some interest, I was not interested in, because they were too new, they were too unproven. We'll see what the next bear market does to some of these companies, whether they can survive and whether or not they just consume all your coins. But when something is new, I don't like to do leading edge with much value at all. I'll do a little bit just to experiment, but I don't want to throw a lot of money into something that could potentially just disappear. That was me and Mt. Gox. Fortunately, it wasn't that much at Mt. Gox, but it was, and it was the only real exchange that you could use. And you know, my first Bitcoin purchases were through Mt. Gox, and I had to wire to a strange company in Japan, hoping that they would send me some Bitcoin, which it turns out that they did. I definitely wouldn't do the same thing nowadays, but because it would probably be a scam. But you know, things have matured, and so as companies mature and as blockchains mature, I'm willing to trust them more and more because you may run into things like the PPT platform where people have their coin stuck. And what do you do? Who do you call? But you know, that was a new platform. Just like back in the day when Flamingo was first introduced, it was painful because things were locked up for a little bit. It was stressful. I had suggested it to the group, and then all of a sudden the O3 wallet went from supporting the ledger to not supporting the ledger, and then going back and supporting the ledger. And it was really stressful, and people could have lost thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. So I err on being conservative when I recommend something. But I'm kind of exploring other things that that might bring my coins value to me by just you know, holding my coins, but maybe in a different spot. Okay, I think that is it for today. I really appreciate everybody coming and joining us. I do like this. You know, I've been working more and more with Jetta. We've just kind of been throwing things back and forth, and I am trusting Jetta more and more, just like I'm trusting different platforms more and more. And I appreciate everybody showing up today on this Saturday. I wish everybody a great weekend, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks.